It seems like, as media outlets have been saying, that's a little bit of a sell-off.
It's interesting because I read some things that SpaceX think it's interesting because they had, a lot of pre-IPO options, early evaluation of it. This is going to continue to go up. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co-host, DJ, man. What's going on today, Deuce?
Hey, DJ, as always, it's another great day. Technology is constantly evolving as fast as this world is revolving. Yeah, we got a couple of things we want to dive into, talk about new and exciting things going on. We got SpaceX and their stock crashes we're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to talk about that steam machine that just launched, Valve steam machine. OpenAI got GPT 5.6 on the horizon, so that is dropping really, really soon. Also, we want to talk a little bit about Midjourney's AI image generator, what that looks like for modern medicine, and a few other things. But yeah, DJ, what else you got? You got anything else on the docket?
Yeah, man, we're going to talk about why your next iPhone might cost $270 more. So we'll be getting on why, it might cost.
Blame AI for that one.
Yeah, blame AI for sure for that one. So yeah, that's about it. I think you hit on all the topics, man. Where you want to start?
Let's talk about SpaceX and their stock and what it's been doing, man. Look, first of all, this is not financial advice or recommendation or anything. We're just talking about what we've seen, right?
Yeah.
What the market's looking like. What that market looking like, DJ?
Yeah, man. So, it seems like, as media outlets have been saying, that's a little bit of a sell-off have happened. So, of course, highest IPO ever. Then, they had an increase, basically a couple of days after that, had some gains on it. And then I want to say on June 22nd is when the sell-off, quote unquote, started to happen, basically. So you start to see. So I think, down it got to around 160 at close and you guys can kind of look it up and everything like that. But basically, they said a little bit of a sell-off. So there are some people, I'm sure, that made some major wins riding it up, from the initial IPO amount that it came public with. What do you think about that, Deuce?
It's interesting because I read some things that SpaceX were I think it's interesting because they had, a lot of pre-IPO options, but some of that stuff you can't necessarily completely sell off. You have to wait until a certain valuation period. I didn't read too deep into it, but it's interesting to see how that stock is going to continue to rise and fall. But I think this is just early evaluation of it. It's going to continue to go up. That's just my whole thing. It's going to continue to be bullish. Yeah. This is just early people
a
trying
lot
to
of people
ride that
drive
wave.
up those IPOs. I mean,
Yeah, they're trying to ride that
excitement.
wave.
Yeah, they buy up these IPOs and they rise it, and then you'll see some large investors or some more savvy ones start to kind of sell off. In that way they can capture some quick profits, based off the hype. You know what I mean? And then you'll see it kind of normalize and all those things.
Because think about it though. At the end of the day, yes, but 600 billion erased in 3 days. Whew, that ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but yeah, that's a lot. I mean, if it's 600 billion, I mean, whew. But I did see something that said whatever billion amount that it was, but it says Elon's still a trillionaire or something like that. So they were it's basically like, he's still a trillionaire. I was like, that's crazy. It's crazy. Just to think of someone like an individual being a trillionaire is crazy.
I mean, that was a blockbuster IPO, of course, right? Real quick with sneakers. Look, they was out there in their green KDs. I think of the KD18s they had, right? They was out there. They knew exactly what they're doing, styling and profiling. Blockbuster IPO. Man. Matter of fact, I guarantee they'll probably make a movie about it soon. Somebody will. Somebody's going to pick it up.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
But,
man. So days after the IPO, apparently all stock, what was it, $60 billion they bought Cursor fully out. Yeah, Cursor. So apparently Cursor, they purchased Cursor.
If you don't know or haven't been following, yes, SpaceX has acquired or had their first acquisition since IPO of Cursor, which is interesting because, if you know anything about XAI and what they have been doing and coupling that with SpaceX now using Cursor, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it. Look, are we going to have
the other company behind it, but I mean, essentially Cursor, AnySphere.
Right.
But I mean, technically, yeah. So I think it already did some kind of acquisition, or maybe it wasn't like a full-on acquisition. I could be misquoting it or whatever. There's a lot of these that are going on right now where companies are either partnering or they're not necessarily buying them all because they don't want to have when you basically, there's what is it, anti like monopoly or whatever those things are. Y'all
Oh,
seen it out there. Yeah, like where a company tries
yeah,
to buy a little company, keep buying up all the competition, trying to get
right.
around certain those things. Yeah.
Well, it depends. Their portfolio is going to be very vast if you think about it. I mean, look at like companies like, Disney or was it AOL, MSN, AOL. They own everything. And there's like, what is it? I think it's like three big companies that own everything. Like everything's just a subsidiary of that.
Yeah,
So
man. Disney
SpaceX,
Disney owns a lot, man.
and they own a lot of big things too. They own what, Fox, ESPN, or well, no, not Fox. They own ABC. They got Hulu. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Disney.
I think Disney has ESPN also, if I'm not
No, they have
mistaken.
ESPN. No, they have. I said Fox at first. They have it's ABC. They got ABC.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and Marvel. I mean, just yeah, a lot of IP, man.
I mean, as far as monopolies go, I don't know if SpaceX will get there, but they're gonna be doing something over the market that is gonna be very territorial.
Back to the Cursor acquisition, man, you got like 4 million or so developers or something like that using the platform already. So, I mean, that's already a major distribution pipeline. So, SpaceX, I'm just thinking, and then now there's rumors allegedly, with the whole SpaceX acquiring or merging with Tesla or whatever the case is. And so, it maybe that'll make it easier. I did hear some individuals saying, like, to make it easier for Elon so that way he can run kind of one major company versus having like a lot of these, because he had XAI. And you had X, and then there's Tesla, the Boring Company, and I'm probably missing, SpaceX, right? So obviously, so I mean, just like all these, companies and maybe merging them together. So interesting to kind of see how that all plays out. Well, we'll definitely keep you posted on that, but that was interesting, and that's, it's not normal that a company right after IPO, at least in my experience, I mean, like, go over and make a acquisition already. So
What makes it really interesting for those who don't know, if you're not familiar, Cursor, of course, is AI coding platform, obviously in competition with Claude Code, right? And a few of the other coding platforms that maybe OpenAI has, and even Anti-Gravity or Google and some of their coding platforms. But Cursor is pretty well known and pretty well used. Cursor themselves had a pretty aggressive acquisition of Graphite back in the late 2025, which is a code review startup. So the interesting thing with that, since SpaceX has now acquired this AI coding tool, and they also have XAI, it'll be interesting to see what they do with their spaceships and their rockets using some coding and how that plans to pan out, right? We
who
may,
knows, man?
they may not do anything with it, or it may just be under their umbrella. Who knows? But it's very interesting to see what could come
Oh no,
out of
one of the
this.
craziest things I saw, and this was before all of this, but just, when he launched that, there was a Tesla, the Roadster, launched the Tesla Roadster into space. You just see the guy and he's just like proud to be American and throwing it. I mean, that's just, after that, I mean, what can you expect, man? I mean, there's just, a lot of going on. But to bring it back, I just thought about that moment just because like all these mergers and just like having all this, like, there's just coming a lot of ground with futurism, which is just crazy. But for developers, so our entrepreneurs, basically, if you're building using Cursor on the side for your audience, for your customers and clients, usually like Cursor, the good thing about that, that was like kind of a model agnostic, right? Dude, so I mean, like you could pick whatever you wanted to and kind of build and develop with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, necessarily know it'll change, but maybe you have to, if you don't feel comfortable, because now, that's under SpaceX, XAI, like that's kind of under that umbrella. So now you have to figure like maybe they'll only let you use grok models. I doubt it, but just kind of things to start thinking about, like if you're comfortable with that and what that means for you when it comes to your tools that you prefer to use. So just interesting, an interesting play.
It's interesting to see if they, specifically tie it down to that, or maybe just supercharge it with that Grok model or, XAI's ambitions. It's really interesting to see what may happen or come out of that. So, I mean, that's definitely going to, keep an eye out for what drops with that and what new comes out of that. But speaking of new drops and what's coming out, OpenAI, of course, with something always up their sleeve, they will be very soon releasing GPT 5.6,
Yep.
which is going to be their latest model. They're going to potentially include a mini and a pro variant, and that's the latest and greatest from OpenAI. So it'll be cool to see the benchmarks that it hits and how it performs against the models already on the market right now. and also against the most previous GPT model. So, what do you think? Are you excited to use GPT 5.6? What do you think?
I am definitely. I mean, like, I want to see what they come with because it's interesting because we have the whole thing going on with Anthropic and the Fable 5 model. And then we had it was a you would we had 4.6 and then we go back to the Opus models. We had 4.6, 4.7, and 4.8 so quickly behind each other. Then Fable 5, which was the public version. This is the Anthropic's Cloud models. They just came out so rapidly, right? And then I was looking at, we just had WWDC and we had Google I/O. Gosh, I don't know why it slips my mind. So we had all these things, and like we're looking at other models, and then we know ChatGPT. We're anticipating what they were going to drop. So I'm thinking there's a multitude of reasons why. We'll get into those, but the reason why they want to do 5.6 is because one, Gemini 3.5 Pro is supposed to be coming out at some point, Deuce. Because remember they said that last
It
month at
is.
their
That's right.
developer conference. They said next month, which we're getting to the end of June, and this was in May. So we'll see, if they can come through with that one. So I believe it's that. Also, right now, since things are in flux with this whole Fable 5 model, and if we talked about that on a previous episode, which the government essentially, had Anthropic pull back their model because there was a vulnerability that was found. And, honestly, any of the models can be jailbroken, right? So I mean, I don't know why, they picked that one in specific, and I think it's just because of the capability of it. So that's, a longer story on it. But I say all that to say is that I'm wondering if 5.6 will, like I know, there's speculation that it will, but I'm wondering if everybody, like even Gemini and OpenAI, if they're going to be like, whoa, let's wait and see what's going on with this whole Anthropic thing, because they could drop their new model and potentially have the same issue that happens, that somebody jailbreaks it and all of a sudden they got to pull their model back. So it is definitely interesting times that we have right now, because for a while, Anthropic was just releasing new models, releasing new models. And if you go on the arena, we used to, always say, hey, check their LM arena boards and everything like that. And pretty much all the Anthropic models were just crushing it right now. I mean, if you go look, I want to say the top 5 models are all Anthropic models, and we'll show it. And basically, you can kind of take a look at those. But if you look at the LM Arena, like Anthropic's has been pretty much crushing it. And, so
No,
either way,
which is
yeah.
interesting, but needless to say, right, this new GPT 5.6 model, some of the claims that they have, right, obviously a larger token context window, zero point 0.5 million tokens, right, improved long horizon coding and faster codex response time. So, of course, that's OpenAI's Codex is their AI coding platform, right? So it'll be cool to see like how it performs, right? Obviously, this is hype, right? This is what to see brought to the table. Okay, cool. I'm excited for this, but let's see what it actually does. So if you're into the weeds of using ChatGPT, or if you're just a casual user, this still matters to you, right? But what they're also claiming is competitive pricing to undercut Anthropic, right? And we know like this, like, okay, now we're getting into the cutthroat war again. You know what I'm saying? Like back and forth is going back and forth.
Well, now
Now,
it's that's where we're at right now. I'm glad that you brought that up, just because I mean, so the lower token cost, right? So it is supposed to be 10 to 15% lower in token costs, and that's one thing. But everybody know, like these corporations are getting huge bills, right now for these new features. Like some companies, and I'm hearing this from colleagues that are in different corporations. Like now they're afraid to let their employees use, like at first it was just like, hey, use AI, use AI. They were tracking people and said, oh, you're not using AI, you need to use it more. But now, when you have these agents running, and you have these agentic workflows and everything like that, especially like tied to these newer models, Deuce, like 5.6 or Opus 4.8 and everything, or even Fable before they took that off. Now you get this big bill because like your usage is up because they have these long running tasks going. And if you got all these people, so now you have to throttle it because the companies start just, it's not unlimited usage anymore. Now it's just kind of like, hey, you got to pay to play type thing. So
listen, DJ, we are at the precipice of this AI bubble bursting. Right. And I'm gonna give it here. Look, I'm calling this is my 2 cents, right? I'm
oh,
giving
here it is.
listen, look, this is Deuce's 2 cents. We've been talking about the AI bubble, like how big is it going to get before it pops? When is enough enough? And I feel like we are absolutely reaching it. It's a pressure cooker. It's about to end it all. Think about it. Like you said, companies are now realizing not only have they laid off or let go of thousands of employees at a lot of companies, let's just say, but the replacement of the AI agents or agentic or just whatever workflows they have, they are burning up a lot of capital and cash reserves using these agents, right? And now it's even more expensive than the employee that you let go. And it's maybe doing some jobs faster, but also it's taking a lot of time for it. It just doesn't pan out, right? So I feel like we're going to bust because what's going to happen is companies are going to realize they need more employees. They're not going to be use these AI agents now. Things are going to struggle, right? Companies are going to struggle. The economy is going to struggle. It's going to look bad, but we are on the precipice of it. That's my 2 cents on it, right? Because I just think that's just one part of the AI bubble that could really come to a full steam. That part alone is going to help tip the scales into it being something really really catastrophic.
I don't know, man. I mean, I remember the last bubble, or they're talking about the .com bubble, and just they had
Right, but think
a
about
bunch of
that.
different bubbles. Yeah,
Think about that. I mean, it's the Wild West. Get your gold while you can. It is a gold mine. I mean, think about, okay, history shows things, bubbles like that. Like we can think about the gold rush back in the 40s and 50s, the 30s. That was, you gotta think about it. People rushed out west to go find gold, right? This is physical, right? That dried up real quick. And then people were stuck there. Okay, now we fast forward to the 90s and early 2000s, right? The dot-com bubble was so serious, people were saying Y2K was going to be the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, that was all tied into, the dot-com buzz. People were buying up these URLs, their domains, right? And it was going crazy. And then it flattened out, but it burst. Now, if we look at technology and the move of everyone doing with AI things, it's bound to repeat itself. It's about to burst.
yeah. Well, I mean, with the .com bubble, I do remember that because, well, you got to think some companies emerge out of that, and what I think it does is it does clear the landscape of like, because you got all these like, so the bubble in my the way I think it through, because Y2K, I remember that was in my mind it was a little bit separate, because I think I remember something about them saying like all the clocks, like when they turned to 2000, they weren't coded to turn to 2000, and then there was going to be like a holocaust. Like I just remember because I was young enough to remember like waking. I was like freaked out, thinking like, "Oh man, it's gonna be
Right.
over," and then
Like everything it was
nothing
going to shut
happened.
off.
I
Like
was like,
everything,
and I was like,
everything
maybe
the
it's on a
the
different
the
time.
grids were going to shut
Man,
off.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be different.
But it was separate.
Which is
But like
different.
they
Yeah,
tied it. They tried to tie it into
I
all
guess
of
it was
that.
all
But
the hype, maybe because of the hype.
it
Yeah,
was
there was a hype
everything
with
that was
that.
into it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's because of XYZ. You know how people do.
Yeah, they had a hype, but I do remember specifically when it come to bubbles, just in general, is just like Deuce, where we were talking about before, like everybody, like when AI, like right now, like, oh, let's open up a AI agency and say we're going to do X, Y, Z and provide these values for these individuals, and like all of that, all of those, like things where people are trying to, create something like, and just they're getting all these valuations, they're getting crazy
Yeah.
valuations and just driving up,
I
money, and
just think
everybody's throwing money
things
at
are
it.
getting out of
Now that's
hand.
gonna pop, and it's gonna be the strong ones that actually emerge. Like, cause think, Amazon made it out of the .com bubble, Google made it out of the .com bubble, and then there was casualties, which not, I guess you can't really call it casualty, but Yahoo wasn't
Yeah, but
necessarily a
Yahoo
casualty. That's just,
Yahoo
I
didn't
mean, it wasn't
Yahoo
a.
didn't make it out.
I mean,
Like Yahoo
it's still
Yahoo is not
here.
the
Like,
same. Yeah, okay,
it's
Yahoo is
not the
still here,
same.
but it's
Yeah.
not the same. Like Google crushed them. I mean, you got to think of like Netscape, a lot of different things, like different the dot-com bubble, it produced a lot of new companies. It produced a lot of companies that survived it. The
Well, I think the bubble, when whatever bubble bursts, it'll have major losers and major winners. Like, I mean, like you'll have like
absolutely.
big winners and big losers, like when that burst happened. And I don't know, I was too young to kind of remember from the .com bubble. I do remember some of the headlines, dudes, like we were talking about. We were both probably, but I mean, like I think just in this realm, as we think about it now, being a little bit older, like I think you'll have big winners that'll come out of this. And theoretically, if it gets to AGI and all that, what everybody's saying is just like that's going to be the winner. That's what everybody's just gunning for, is like to get to AGI first, because apparently that'll be whoever wins this, this whole AI thing that's going on as it is right now. So just definitely interesting. But yeah, that's what's going on with that. But I mean, yeah, so anytime a new frontier model is coming out, definitely want to play with it, see the new capabilities. I do like the new context window. But question for you, question for the audience and everybody, like for our subscribers, who is using a $1.5 million token context window? I mean, like what kind of,
What kind of what
that's a
kind of what
huge
kind of
context.
prompts? What kind of
You know what
prompts
I'm
are you
saying? Like
running?
what?
What kind of
Yeah, that's a lot,
how
man.
many
That's a
tokens are you
lot.
using? What look, 1.5 million tokens ain't nothing to sneeze at,
Yeah,
all
and I'm
right?
sure. I mean, because I'm thinking, code bases developers and everything. I think that's why the context windows, we're growing because, if you want to throw your whole code base or something and, just have it, especially now with the agentic workflows and everything like that. But it's just interesting to see that. And I wonder what the normal, like just a normal average user or the average is of just, how much usage people use for context windows and everything. But I think also maybe this just opens up because like Anthropic, I know a lot, they're really famous for like reading the whole, whatever you type before. So it gets context. So either way, interesting to see that moving. I am definitely excited. I want to use it. And basically, what I would say with our entrepreneurs and everything like that is like when a new model comes out, you can definitely jump on it and use it. But if you're comfortable with one, you can definitely stay on it, especially if you're trying to cut costs down, from anything that you have going on like that. Because every time the new models come out, typically they say, well, the tokens cost less. But overall, like the model usage and everything like that, like, or especially once it gets to APIs, like sometimes, you just got to kind of see what it looks like if it's handling a little better. Opus 4.7, I liken this to that, is like, I think that was actually meant to try to save on tokens, but it was using more. So it was costing people more. And then it came out with 4.8, which was supposed to be more efficient. So we'll see how it comes with 5.6. Deuce and I will definitely be using that. So we'll let y'all know our take on it once that comes out. But yeah, just the one last thing with that is just like I would say is one of the, I think it was Shipu. I can't remember. Shipu AI, MIT licensed model. That one is, it's an open, it went open weight. So basically open source model. And apparently that one beats 5. So earlier to your earlier question, Deuce, about them releasing it, I think maybe also because now if you have a current model that's out and then you have an open model that's supposed to be as good as it, then of course you have to release your next best. So that's just what I'm saying is that's another reason why I think they might be pushing to kind of get that out the door.
It'll be interesting to see, but also transitioning a little bit. Speaking of some new models that have dropped and new things that we are seeing, Midjourney, right? They dropped a new AI generator that is coming out, but however, it's not just your old regular AI image generator. This one develops a full body ultrasonic scanner, essentially, or it is developing a full body ultrasonic scanner, which means a lot, especially for modern day medicine, right? So if you think about it, right, this machine can or project from Midjourney can scan a whole person's body in 60 seconds. And it's something we've never seen before. However, it created a 3D map of users' bodies down to a fraction of a millimeter. It looks very, very similar to an MRI. However, for a fraction of the speed, right? Nearly 100 times faster. Have you ever gotten an MRI?
I I don't, not maybe
Bruh,
when I was younger. I can't even remember.
listen, the last time I got an
So when they
MRI,
put you in that machine, right?
they
Yeah,
put you in that
yeah.
machine, man. It takes about 50 minutes, depending on where. But I got one recently a few years ago for my knee, and it took about 50 minutes, right? And I'm telling you, like you put you in a big old machine, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
what
some
this
people
is
get
doing,
claustrophobic and everything. Yeah. So
absolutely. And and you can't wear no metal or jewelry. Like your body should not be taking that type of radiation or whatever for that long. However, like I said, so a full scan takes less than 60 seconds for Midjourney's new AI generator, image generator, compared to an MRI, 60 to 90 minutes for a full body MRI. So now the
that's
company,
crazy.
they're building out spas to house the machines for customers to use. But it's pretty sweet, man. We'll post a link to what it looks like and kind of add in with a video of what that ultrasonic body scanner looks like. Thing is, DJ, this is modern technology for modern problems, right? I mean, think about it. These are the concepts and applications of AI that I love to see, right? I think you're solving something that that's not necessarily is a problem, but has been, let's say, a handicap for medicine for a long time for a lot of people. And I guarantee you, it's going to be not as expensive. MRIs are costly. I think my MRI, I think I had to pay like $200 for that thing.
And this one, I mean, like, people get concerns about, harmful radiation and all this other stuff. And I'm not sure the tech of an MRI specifically. I probably have to look that up, but I'm just saying, like, whatever they're using, that was one of the things that they kind of boasted in their blog post, just kind of saying, like, how it wasn't harmful and you can, run this a lot more and more frequently. It doesn't take a lot of time. And, like, and apparently also you'll get better results. They did show an image basically like MRI versus like using what they have going on. And I mean, like, it just looked like night and day. Like, it looked like it was very highly detailed. But the funny part that I liked about it was literally in their first line is like to say, today we're going to announce something a little weird and a little crazy, but also spectacular, filled with hope. which is cool. And then their blog post, it was literally a new era of Midjourney. So, and you and I both know I've been using Midjourney since, they were one of the first, text to image, models. And that was like, they were the premier at one point. And then like, everybody else got good and Midjourney kind of, so it looks like this is kind of their pivot, but Midjourney, even since they were in, Discord, basically, like I've been using them that long since they were in Discord before they went web based and like that. So it was interesting to kind of see this pivot, but the tech that they are boasting looks cool, and I guess it makes sense. But it is very, very interesting on that, and I'm definitely want to track that because I would ask you, Deuce, is that something you would get done? I mean, since you had the MRI, is this something you
I
would
mean,
partake
I
in?
would try it. Obviously, there's a lot of caveats to it from a medical standpoint, and probably a lot of fine tuning it needs. But of course, I'd try it. Granted, before it probably is a mainstream thing, I know it's going to have to take a lot of trial and error, a lot of comparison before it's like thing. But absolutely, I mean, especially if it's a fraction of the cost. If I needed to, I'd get try it out, and of course, get a second opinion if you need to.
It looks
Obviously,
so futuristic, man. I mean, it just
it
looks
looks
so futuristic. If you watch
crazy.
the
It
videos,
sounds
like it looks
crazy.
crazy.
But I mean, why not? I mean, we're living in an age. I think I like this because you gotta say, like you said, modern medicine is evolving and we're living in a time where because of technology, we're able to receive better treatment and medicine and live healthier lives, right? And I think this is taking a step further at doing that. The machine's capabilities. I'll be excited to see, like they said that by 2031, they're ambitiously planning to have over 50,000 scanners available worldwide by 2031.
Because
So,
apparently they're opening up these little spa centers. So it's like a
yeah,
spa and you go in there and like, which is so cool. Like it's crazy. It looks like something off of like Total Recall or I don't know, some kind of
yes, yes.
futuristic or
It
Tron.
looks like
I
something
don't
off a
know.
Blade Runner. Well, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
Blade Runner, like any futuristic, like you literally get in there and it submerges you and it does the scan. It has a countdown.
Yeah,
So there's video. We'll definitely add a link down. I would be curious to see if that's something that you all would
yeah. Let us know in the
partake in.
comments.
But
Would
yeah.
you partake in this scandal? We're going to add some links and we're going to show an image of it up here just to show what it looks like because I think it's pretty dope. It'll be interesting just to see how well it does. But yeah, man.
Yeah, and
Yes,
just
I love the new technology.
yeah, I want to see what that is. I'm gonna let it cook for a little while though before I get in that bitch
Yeah.
myself.
Ah,
I'm gonna let it cook a little bit. I mean, it looks cool and it seems like it seems like it's
well,
safe, but
let's say
I
this.
don't know.
Let's pray that we won't need to use it, but if there is a need, hopefully it's all the all the kinks are ironed out by then.
I mean, I don't know. I'm into this health tech thing now, man. I don't know if you've but we'll probably get into that a little bit deeper. But there's ways that you can connect your Apple Fitness, your Google Fitness watches devices, and then how
Speaking of,
AI like scan all of that. So this is just like, more longevity. So,
I'm glad you
maybe
brought
we'll
that
start
up.
living to 150 years, hundreds, crazy.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna have a small little point, and we can expand on this later on in another episode. But Google Gemini Health is something that is going to be really, really cool. Some of that stuff that
Oh
came out in
yeah.
Google
Oh
I/O
yeah.
with Fitbit and what they're doing. We gotta definitely tap into that market of AI and AI health and what that looks like. But because of new technology that has been coming out, including these spas that and Midjourney is doing. There's other new technology that's coming to the market. Of course, Valve's steam machine is one of them, right? And this thing looks pretty sweet, pretty pricey. However, it is set to potentially wipe out the console, the gaming console. And I don't know about you, DJ, but they said that is the goal of it. And who knows?
I think that they're saying like they're trying to bridge that gap even more between PC and consoles. But what's weird to me, Deuce, and I wanted to get your take on this. We both game and everything like that casually, and we know people in the industry and esports and all this other stuff. Is like there seems to be a bigger major because like Xbox, right? We heard that the new Xbox got the project code name or whatever, Helix, I think. Xbox is supposed to be the new PC console merger, and I would almost think that they would be better suited because, of course, they own Xbox, its platform and software. Windows 11 now has this like kind of console mode. All I'm saying is this: it is interesting that this space seems to be a thing. I wonder if PlayStation's going to try to dabble when it comes to PS6. The PS5 Pro is not that long ago, so is that going to give them a little bit more time to where they can try to do a merge? It seemed like they were just going to stick to console. They were going to stick to the average consumer and stick to that market and not really. I heard that they didn't even plan. It looks like they announced that they weren't planning on releasing like a lot more of their content to a PC because they were going with Steam for a little bit as well. So it's just interesting to see the strategy that's at play right now. But the Steam machine itself, man. Well, I mean, what's your take on it? You gonna get one?
I don't know if I'm gonna get one. A lot of my gaming days are I have more gaming days behind me than I do ahead of me. I do know that. And I'm gonna tell you why, bruh. I'm getting older and in my free time, sometimes I like to sleep. But I do game here. Like I said, I still game. I don't know. I am interested and I'm on the market for a new console. I don't know if I'm gonna stick to what's comfortable or I might, dabble on something new.
Where
But
you on
yeah,
right
I don't
now?
know yet.
PlayStation? Did you go? Because you've been on PlayStation,
I bet no, I've been on
Xbox.
Xbox, man. I've been on
Yeah.
Xbox. Like I used to be a PlayStation guy for a long time growing up, of course. I've had all the PlayStations, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I had a PSP and the PlayStation 3. And then that's kind of where I stopped. And then I went to school and then I had the Xbox and I started with the Xboxes. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I have more gaming days behind me than ahead of me. I'm not a super big gamer anymore. So, but I will be interested to see what that does. I'll know for me personally, I sit at my computer a lot. So I don't necessarily, even though I have a gaming PC, technically, I don't game at my PC because I sit at the computer a lot.
And now you have both worlds. So that's sort of thing. So now you could basically have in one box. You already got this now the screens. Y'all can't see it, but the screen setup Deuce has is wild. Like I wish I could have the screen set up like him. So and with all them screens, you'd be remiss not to get some kind of setup to take advantage of all that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I would say, okay, we have to miss on the price. We have to hit up on the price because I mean, like, if you from a consumer aspect, man, I mean, the 512 gigabyte version, I think, is 1,049 is what they announced the price for. And then they have a 2 terabyte model, which is going to be $1,349. So now we think back, all the console, that kind of price you got a console, and that puts you at somewhere, between like low end gaming PC or like and I think the quote that they said, I heard this on somewhere that's like, I think it was Linus Tech Tips or whatever video that he had was like the GPU that's in there is about 70, yeah, like it's better than 70% of the GPUs that most people use on Steam. So, the Steam gets you a little information, all that. So it's not horrible, but it's also, I don't think if we're looking at the benchmarks correctly, I think a PS5, definitely a PS5 Pro and even the Xbox Series X, I think that they actually edge it out in performance. But again, like I said, you get Steam. If you're into Valve and a huge library. So, like I said, a lot of pros and cons. But I guess, Deuce, all that to say, I want to give you that context. Man, doesn't that price it out of your average? Like, who is it? Is this really for the PC player that wants a console, or are they trying to get console players to go to their console and feel like PC?
I think it's the latter, probably the former more so. They're trying to get PC players into more of a console base, if you think about it. However, PC players are very serious about their PCs,
Man,
having to give that
I
up
mean,
because let's say PC gamers, real ones, spent absolutely more than what this costs on their rig. I guarantee it. If they have a
I
rig,
mean,
any type of
they
setup,
probably, yeah.
right?
Just
I'm
a
telling you,
GPU alone can cost more than this thing. Man.
listen, I
I mean, if
I
you
spent. I'm gonna tell you when this was over 10 years ago. One of my last PCs I built that cost me about $1,500, and it was nothing top of the line, nothing top of the line. It was pretty middle of the road for most of the stuff, for the most part, right? About 1,500. Now, if we're looking at this, and if we talk about the GPUs and if it's worth it, and it comes all inclusive. I mean, from a PC-esque standpoint, it's kind of worth it ish, but it's like, living room PC. Like, what else are we going to use it for other than gaming? Like, the graphics is a big part of it. So, if that GPU is 70% better than other Steam models and whatever else is out there on the market,
the performance of that is better than 70% of the people. Because, Steam will ask you, to take catalog of your hardware and it'll pull it together. So basically saying, now, I mean, because People do like PC, but not everybody can afford the most up to date. I want to say 3060 and 4060 are the most popular or the most graphics cards that are on there that type of performance. So if you just equate that to whatever you have, so there's a lot of people gaming. You have a lot of different type of systems and everything like that. I think there's pros and cons. It's just the pricing. I think it was speculated that it was going to be $750, and then it comes out at this amount. So I'm actually quite interested based off of this, what the Xbox Helix or whatever they're going to call that and the PS6, like where they're going to land with those prices. I don't know if we're going to be seeing some in 2027, which supposedly we were, but if that's going to push that back because, hardware is expensive right now, it's definitely interesting to see where that price point came out. I want to see how it sells. But I mean, Steam, they have a huge backlog catalog and everything like that. You have Steam, you know what I mean? Like most people, they have Steam and they have their back catalog. You can play that. So, and there is a lot of benefits to it because apparently like it really is a console. And now I guess why it kind of matters and why this is unique is because it's good and around the whole Microsoft or Windows based system. Like, they built their whole OS now on this. So, they don't have to have that tie-in. So they were able to do their big picture mode kind of natively, if you will. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of unfolds out there.
Interested in it just because it's like if you think about the graphics, like gamers and the graphics matter, right? Especially if you're
Yeah.
serious into some of your games and if you have like if you are into RPG games or if you're into
Yeah.
racing games, like you got a rig. You know what I mean? Some people's setups are interesting. However, I'd be very interested to see how they can tie this into a VR headset type of rig with a running trackpad. I've seen some people spend
Yeah.
lots of money on their rigs and setups for gaming, but I feel like I don't know if people are going to be in the future still, well, in the near future, still into sit down living room gaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's going to be the question to ask, really, because the way things are coming out now with everything, the way we're leaning in technology and the gaming world, no one is sitting down at home in the living room.
Oh, so
You know what I
your
mean?
bet's on mobile?
I'm not even mobile. If we think about esports and esport arenas and these mobile cafes, right? People aren't sitting in front of a gaming mod for hours. They are here and there, whether it's mobile or not. They are in a lot of different places gaming, or they have these specialty rigs where everything is virtual. I saw this one guy on social media. I can't remember his. He had a whole running trackpad, a multi-direction running trackpad, and a VR headset. He had a
That's pretty
rig
cool. Yeah.
held him up. He had these a haptic suit,
What was this,
haptic
Batman?
gloves.
I mean, he had a lot of
That's what I
money.
said. Yeah, like I was like, because he it was
Yeah.
really going through a rundown of everything he spent. I'm like, God damn,
Yeah.
really? Who
Yeah,
is this
man. So
guy?
yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm
what do
saying. Like
you
we got to
do?
think mass market is the average consumer. I just don't think so. I think there'll always be a place for the console, and we got to think because you and I, we can sit down in front of a PC, and we're old enough to know that. Man, you remember when you log in for the first time, you got to go into all the settings and kind of optimize them
Listen,
for your GPU, and like
listen.
it don't look like a slideshow because it's so choppy and everything. You had to go in there. Man, I remember Doom came out back and I was on PC and like I had to go. You had to like really optimize it. So now you get this kind of PC that you can kind of do everything with, run apps and everything like that. But you don't have to optimize that because now, since they have one spec of this, they can treat the developers that are building these games can build it specifically for this model, kind of like they do the other consoles, and it can automatically come out with where they think it should run, basically like a console. Like a console, you can turn on Call of Duty, you can call on 2K, you can turn on whatever games that you're into, and you don't have to tweak any settings unless you want to. Like you can go in there optionally, but you can just play the game, and that's what they're really trying to do also here as well. So it's interesting.
Well, listen, I think it's going to be great. If you guys listening, let us know if you guys are gamers one, and if you'd be interested in Valve's Steam Machine, right, for the low price or the lowest price of $1,049, right? But not too much if you're a gamer for real. That's nothing, nothing too much to sneeze at. But let us know what your thoughts are, right? Are you going to use it? Do you think it's too much, right? Are you a couch gamer? Or are you a mobile gamer? Yeah, I think this would be cool for like if you think about the esports industry, right? Of course, DJ, we've been into that industry. We've dabbled a little bit, but it's still I want to say taking off. It is here and it is still very, very thriving. You know what I mean? So all in all, I think this is great. A cool thing to talk about. I'm excited to see what happens when it does drop and what it looks like for all the other gaming consoles. But yeah, anything else? Let's, I guess, kind of
No,
keep
just
it
real
moving,
quick. I
keep this
mean,
train
Apple.
moving.
So we alluded to Apple, like why your phone might be
Yeah,
$270 more. So one, and I think it's just the hype. So the TLDR is that of course, there's a lot of speculation that Apple will be coming out with their foldable phone finally, and I bet a lot of people think it's the first foldable phone on the market. They're like, man, So there's a lot of anticipation for there, and there's a lot of breadcrumbs, if you will, to kind of show that with their new display sizes. And they have now some of their native apps you can do in landscape, and also you can do it. You can do
portrait.
vertical and you can do in landscape. Yeah, portrait and landscape. Yeah. So either way, I'm just saying, like, they're developing that, and a lot of that speculation is just like, oh, they're doing this so you can use it for the foldable phone. But the cost associated with that is because the cost of chips, the cost of manufacturing is just going up because of AI, as we alluded to before. So, what's your take on that, Deuce?
Man, I'm cool on it. Honestly, the idea seems cool. I just know it's not for me. That's all. But we'll say this, Apple has been talking about affordable since about 2017. So this
Hmm.
is something that's 9 years or so in the making. And I know one thing, it better be great. 9 years in the making. Come on, bro. Y'all been rumor mill has it like y'all been talking about this for how long? And granted, I know y'all don't need necessarily and or never are first to the market. There's Google had their foldable, Samsung had their foldable, everybody had a foldable. And I know y'all are like, oh, we don't want to be first to the market. But I better not see some features and details from any of those phones that makes it look like that. Because that's what Apple does. They wait and they're like, oh, we came out, but what they'll do, they'll upsell the features so much that it'll seem like the greatest thing ever. And I'm saying it probably will be great. For
Well, they're
those.
going to tie it with the new Apple
Of
Intelligence that we
course,
talked about
yeah.
last week.
So of
Yeah.
course it'll probably be pretty cool to see, but yeah, it's not for me. I don't need a foldable phablet in my pocket. I'm cool with I think I have a 14, or yes, or 15. I have a 15X Pro. I don't know. That's all I need. That's all. I'm cool.
I don't know. I'm torn, man, because usually I like the new cameras and like the capabilities of them and everything. So, like,
Listen, DJ, if you turn it into Paw Paw, you need that big screen to see now.
yeah, yeah, or that too, yeah. And I'm Oregon Trail. I'm Oregon Trail years
You know
old,
what
so
I'm
I gotta,
saying? But
it might be
nah.
time for me to go and hit that. Look, extra font size, the large
Listen,
font.
look at that. You got when you open up the phone, you got the big buzz, right?
Big butt. Yeah, I gotta look at it like this.
But all in all, I say that to say I feel like it is going to be interesting to see when it comes out.
Yeah,
It's like I said, it's 9 years in the making already. So I mean, come on already with it. Look,
yeah.
come on, iPhone photo with your funky self, bruh. Look, come on.
We're gonna see what it's like, man. But yeah, apparently the global my memory chip shortage is supposed to run through 2027. It looks like so. That's what even companies like Samsung are saying that reportedly. So we'll see. But Apple they're sitting on like 140 billion dollars cash, right? And they're talking about price hikes are unavoidable for all new pieces of hardware that you have. So it's gonna be interesting. So with people, if you have laptops, tablets, or anything like that, you may want to start buying what you need before some of these price hikes to go up because the iPhone 18 Pro hits or Ultra or whatever they're going to call it. We're going to start seeing a lot more of these, price hikes. It looks like for the foreseeable future. And this is ebbs and flows when it comes to GPUs and everything like that before. So we'll see. But yeah, that is why basically.
Well, let us know. Are you guys going to get the iPhone foldable? You let us know if you are. What are you guys like? Are you excited to see it, or you guys want to stick to your regular thing? And I don't think it's going to be like there's a clamshell. I think it's going to be like one of the Samsung foldable screen things. All in all, I think it'll be cool to see. As you guys, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Leave a comment. And of course, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. All right. And we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Peace.